As I sit here in despair and stress at age 70, having to wait tables to make ends meet, I wish someone would have told me about old age security in Canada. For years, I failed to recognize how my future financial security hinges on the seemingly small choices that I make today. Let's talk about old age security in Canada and why you should care about it, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, or 50s. Old age security in Canada is a significant source of retirement income. Having a plan for your finances when your job is no longer around to support you is critical to your survival. A lot of people ignore that fact, saying, I'll think about that later, or I'll think about it closer to retirement. But by then, it's usually too late. Think about it. Eating a donut today won't make you overweight. But eating donuts every day for 5 years will leave you wondering how you gained 40 pounds. As James Clear puts it, time magnifies the margin between success and failure. It will multiply whatever you feed it. Making a small choice that is a little better or a little worse may seem insignificant in the moment, but over the span of a lifetime, these choices determine the difference between the life you have and the life you could have. Knowledge combined with planning ensures that your retirement is not one where you're forced to wait tables at age 70 to make ends meet. And yes, that is a harsh reality for some who fail to plan or think about retirement in Canada, and it's certainly not how you want to spend the last years of your life. Planning for your financial security in old age is similar. The tiny choices you make today will significantly dictate your lifestyle in your last years on this earth. As a 33-year-old, I was surprised to learn how my choices today, like where I live, could significantly impact the amount of money the government would provide in my later years. In this video, I cover what is old age security in Canada, or OAS, how OAS works, and how much money you can expect to receive from OAS. So with that, let's start off with understanding what is old age security in Canada. In Canada, you have two main sources of retirement income from the government. The first is old age security, or OAS, that is funded by the government from their dollars. You get it regardless of whether you have worked in Canada or not. It depends on how long you have been a Canadian resident. You also have the Canada Pension Plan, or CPP, that is not funded by the government, but through contributions made by you and your employer. To receive CPP, you must have worked in Canada and contributed towards the plan. So how does OAS work? The OAS is a monthly income available to seniors aged 65 and older who meet the Canadian legal status and residence requirements. So how do you qualify for OAS? To qualify for OAS, you must have lived in Canada for at least 10 years after the age of 18. You don't need to be a Canadian citizen. As long as you're a Canadian resident, when your OAS application is approved and you satisfy the 10-year residency minimum period, you will receive OAS. There is a common misconception that the residency requirement is a one-time test at 65. For example, let's say Neha turned 65 this year and moved from India 2 years ago. She's only lived in Canada for 2 years, so she currently doesn't qualify for OAS. However, if she waits until she is 73, at that point, she has 10 years and would then qualify for a proportionate OAS payment. So how much OAS payment can you receive? The OAS is a proportional benefit. It is based on your number of years of residency in Canada. To get the maximum OAS payment, you need to live in Canada for at least 40 years after the age of 18. The current maximum OAS is $718 or $790 per month if you're over the age of 75. So if you don't qualify for the maximum OAS, what do you get? If you don't have a full 40 years of Canadian residency, you may qualify for a partial OAS payment. For example, if you have lived in Canada for 20 years after the age of 18, you will receive 20 out of 40, or half the maximum monthly OAS payment. An important point to note is that once you apply for OAS, you lock in that payment for the rest of your life. Imagine in the same scenario, I applied for OAS at age 65, having lived in Canada for 20 years. I would then lock in a payment of $359 for the rest of my life. However, if I waited until age 70 to apply, I would have an additional 5 years of residency, resulting in a larger payment of $448 for the rest of my life. Essentially, each extra year you live in Canada without claiming OAS increases your number of qualifying years, thereby boosting your OAS payment. Hence, applying for OAS as soon as you qualify may reduce your monthly payment. Low-income Canadians may also be eligible for an additional OAS top-up amount known as the Guaranteed Income Supplement, or GIS. I highly recommend using the Old Age Security Estimator to answer some basic questions. This tool will help you determine if and when you qualify for OAS and how much you can expect to receive. So when should you start taking OAS payments? You can apply for OAS as early as 65 or defer it to age 70. You cannot delay OAS past the age of 70. If you choose to delay your OAS until age 70, your pension amount will increase by 0.6% for each month you wait. This equates to a yearly increase of 7.2%, or a total increase of 36% over 5 years. For example, an OAS payment of $718 per month at age 65 would increase to $977 per month at age 70, an increase of about $270 per month. To be clear, this does not mean that there is a 7.2% return if you defer OAS. You give up a year of OAS payments to have a 7.2% higher OAS payment for life. If you defer OAS by a year, you'll be playing catch up for the next 13 years. In other words, if you defer your OAS to age 66, it will take you until age 78 to receive more cumulative OAS payments compared to starting at age 65. There is a time value to money where $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow. A common misconception that individuals have is that any income you earn will cause you to lose old age security. This isn't true. Your OAS payment will only be clawed back if you earn more than $90,997 in 2024, and this will be clawed back in 2025. At a certain income level, the entire OAS amount will be clawed back. If you're still working and don't need the OAS income immediately, it may be better to defer applying for OAS until after you have stopped working. Another key point if you don't qualify for OAS through the typical route is Social Security agreements. The Government of Canada has Social Security agreements with certain countries. This means that if you haven't met the 10-year residency requirement, but participated in a pension scheme in another country, you may be able to count those years towards your Canadian residency. For example, if at age 65, you have only lived in Canada for 8 years, but have lived or contributed at least 2 years in a country that has a Social Security agreement with Canada, let's say India, you may meet the 10-year residency requirement by using 2 of those years. If eligible, your OAS payment is again based on the number of years you were a resident in Canada. So you would receive 8 out of 40 of the max OAS payment. While the 2 years in India won't count towards the number of months used for the partial OAS payment, they will help you qualify. A key point to remember is that OAS payments are taxed. The tax on OAS pensions is not automatically deducted from your monthly payments. However, you can request to have this tax withheld to simplify your finances by filling out the appropriate forms. I prefer this option. As James Clear puts it, some people spend their entire lives waiting for the time to be right to make an improvement. By understanding OAS, you have taken the first step towards financial security and peace of mind in old age. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions about OAS and if you'd like me to make a video on OAS clawback. Thank you for watching.